Okay, well, hello everybody. Happy New Year, and I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday season. And welcome to the first newsletter of 2018. We're going to a couple of scripted notes here to go over, just to update you on a few things. First thing I want to kind of hit on is some highlights of the accomplishes of 2018, and pretty good stuff, pretty exciting things that went on, ranging from some interesting statistics that our wildland section staff spent over 25,000 staff hours, personnel hours on assigned to wildfires, both in-state and out-of-state, as well as some other all-hazards types of incidents. That's a lot of time, and so thanks to everybody for all your hard work there. Center of Excellence launched their UAV program. I currently have 6 aircraft and 7 pilots within the Center of Excellence. Our professional qualifications training section took delivery of the new mobile live fire training unit, and also were awarded grants for self-contained breathing apparatus and bunker gear. So that's all really exciting stuff. Our fire and life safety section has been super busy with things going on with all of the new school construction. They've actually issued 97 permits for school buildings, compared to 47 for all of 2016. So over 100% increase in that. So those guys and gals are running hard and doing good work out there. Also, you probably saw I sent out the employee engagement survey. Looking at the numbers on that, we'll be digging through that and picking everybody's brain a little bit more as we continue to develop the strategic plan and the things that will go along with that. To continue to improve the work environment for the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. Legislatively, of course, it's off and running. Doesn't look like it's going to be a real crazy year for us yet, but it's a little early to predict that. We'll kind of see what happens, but there is a bill to extend the Wildfire Matters Review Committee. That committee would have sunset. This would extend it out to, I believe, 2025. Which is a good thing for us, gets us in front of the legislator where they're specifically to hear our issues and the things going on with DFPC. That has passed the Senate Agriculture unanimously, and it'll be in appropriations next. We'll be supporting that. There's also a bill that would change the penalties for unattended campfires that Representative Hamner is running, I believe. And it's just basically that just takes from a bill the penalties for unattended campfires was actually established in statute and made it a Class 3 misdemeanor, I believe, and so it raises the fine and makes it a little more relevant in today's day and age to not do that. There's also a bill, which is our bill, going through the getting ready to be written and introduced here pretty quick, but would exempt our CFAC funds from the 16.5% limit, so that we can. Our whole intent behind that one is that when we have a quiet fire season versus a busy fire season, we have a little more latitude with the fund balance on that, so that we don't get in trouble with that. Other exciting things going on for us that probably most of you have heard a little bit about. We're calling our playbook, if you will, and the conversations we've been having around some issues around that. Again, kind of going back to the wildfire in California it was in September, I believe. That the first significant one that was Napa Valley area. We were testifying with Wildfire Matters Review Committee when that event was taking place. Had everybody's attention at the Capitol, and we got asked a lot of questions about that. Fast forward to our presentation and meeting with the Joint Budget Committee. That was right around the second fire in California. So again, a lot of media, a lot of press, a lot of concerns around that. So we continually to get questions, about, can that happen in Colorado? And while, I hope it would never happen in Colorado, and but the potential is there. Hopefully not the potential of 8,500 homes, but the way things are, or 8,500 structures, I should say. But the way things are looking, we've got a lot of people's, sense of urgency or awareness around the wildland urban interface issues are heightened. So add that to the fact that right now, the last numbers I saw was that the snowpack across the state is the lowest it's been in over 30 years. So we're getting a lot more questions, and we're trying to be real proactive about ideas around those types of issues. And so when we testified to the Joint Budget Committee, we kind of framed some areas where we've identified internally within the division what we will call gaps, areas that are areas for improvement or adjustment. And while I think the fire programs in Colorado work pretty well, preaching to the choir here, when you look at our changing fire season, the difficulties around that, we're not staffed and prepared for the potential of what could happen. And so we're trying to put together some ideas on that. Specifically, if you have not heard, there are some areas we identified as having gaps that need to be take a look at those. One of those being statewide dispatching and resource movement and mobilization. Especially for that initial attack period, that from when it exceeds that mutual aid until the cavalry can show up, and how do we better do that? And I think many of us talked and ultimately agreed that it kind of starts with the dispatch capacity, regionally and then statewide. And what are some solutions, what are some ideas to try to do to address some of those concerns. Also, some wildfire and all hazard engine support to local communities, as well as increased capabilities to mobilize strike teams or task forces across the state. So we've been having some conversations about what role does DFPC play in some of that. And I think the synopsis of all of this is we know that the system works until a fire gets really big. So that local fire department response, the sheriff coming in and providing that assistance, and then from there it is handed to the division, to the director of the division, and for lack of better terms, would say we are trying to be a little more proactive with our pre-planning and our capabilities and capacity, given the increasing intensity of the fires we're experiencing, and that those numbers don't seem to be going down. So we're trying to figure that out from a pre-planning perspective, from a regional response, as well as a statewide response. Another area we talked about was increased capacity of squads and hand crews across the state. One of the first resources we need with a wildland fire is hand crews and squads to come out and help scratch some line out there, and they're just not available. I think it was kind of interesting the number of people that have asked, obviously with the heightened awareness of the fire dangers. When we had the fire red flag warnings and different things across the state, where people would be asking, what's DFPC doing to lean forward? And the answer is, we're really not doing anything. We don't have the resources to lean forward. Hand crews and squads are one of those things that that we need to coordinate and figure that out a little bit better. Not only for suppression, but for mitigation and those types of activities, to be proactive in some of these things. As when the winter months, when normally, maybe not this year, but normal years, we could do some mitigation work. When you don't have the resources in the time of year that you're able to do it, that poses a problem. So along with those things becomes increased fire management staffing and capacity for wildfire preparedness response, incident management assistance to the counties and fire districts across the state. I'm sure most of you know we've been looking at the incident management team documents. We've established a goal to develop, a robust, I believe the language is a robust incident management capacity across the state of Colorado. So we're broadening our horizons and looking at those types of areas of where we can provide some more assistance on those types of events. The other areas that we're looking at, of course, is our helicopter programs. As I think everybody knows, we have 240 days of contract with helicopters and 300 days with the seats. And when you overlap those, that provides some significant gaps throughout the year that we don't have any aviation assets available to help us out. We have the call when needed, but we want to evaluate how that whole program looks. And then also, of course, we want to continue to support the Center of Excellence and looking at technology and ways of doing things that are more effective, and be willing to push that envelope a little bit to develop better strategies, tactics, whatever that all looks like, technologies to help us through this. And lastly, but certainly not least, is provide additional training in the rural areas. Whether that be with the mobile live fire training units or with any of the trainings that we provide. Our professional qualification training section is very short-staffed, and to try to get out there, people are starving for the services that we provide, and we just don't have the resources to do it. So we want to look at ways to partner and look at maybe some solutions with that. And ultimately, all of this boils down to our stakeholders. And as you know, we had over 300 surveys that were returned to us for our strategic planning process. We've been working, met with the Wildfire Advisory Committee, we've met with the EFF committee. There's a subcommittee on EFF that we had a conversation with yesterday about the overall fire problem in Colorado and what does that look like, and brainstorming some solutions. So our overall plan now moving forward with these gaps is, after the Wildfire Advisory Committee and the various stakeholder meetings and input we've been soliciting people. You should have seen the emails out there to be a part of the working groups. Those working groups, we had over 80 people that have submitted from across the state that have submitted interest in helping us with that. I think it's important to note our goal is to make this a task force working group with some timelines. We don't want paralysis by analysis. We want to come up with some solutions, some ideas, so that if and when we get asked, about what are we doing about that, we've got some playbooks, if you will, that we've already predetermined some solutions with our stakeholders to address these complex and ever-changing and growing needs within the state. So that kind of in a nutshell is what's going on with that. We'll be, I guess I should top it of our first meeting with the work groups. We'll be selecting who's going to be on those. We want to be very specific about geographical. We want to cover the entire state. We also want to make sure we have all of the disciplines covered that are impacted, the stakeholder groups, to make sure that we have the right folks. And we're shooting for the A. I'm not saying we're going to get the A, but it's like that old saying: if you shoot for the A and you get a B, well, you can probably live with it. If you go in like the fire service often does and say, well, we'll shoot for a C because we think that's about all we're ever going to get, and if we don't hit that mark, then that's just not acceptable to be in that D or lower category. So we'll be working through that. We actually want to have some draft documents put together the first part of April. We're hoping to have those documents so that we have the briefing with the governor on April 13th in Centennial. We're hoping we have some of that stuff. We'll be working, of course, with all of our stakeholders to develop that. So moving right along, since I'm taking up a whole bunch of your time, that's kind of it in a nutshell of what's going on. We're looking forward to another busy and exciting year, 2018, with the division. We want to look forward to those opportunities we can to work together to provide a better service, take care of each other. I believe our next meetup with Morgan, is in March. That'll be coming out, the details on that. I believe Executive Director Hilke is going to try to join me for that. So if you have some questions for the Executive Director or myself, be thinking about those. Just make them really easy ones. So with that, I'll sign off. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.